Welcome to another episode of The Read Pile. I want to talk about this before I get interrupted anymore. It has been a day, for sure, and I still need a haircut. So, talking about the doom that came to Gotham. I watched the animated movie recently. This is maybe within the last 2 weeks, and I was surprised. It was like pretty much straight horror, and it seemed like there were elements that I either didn't remember from the comic or that were added, sort of like Gotham by Gaslight, which, wow, that movie. But since it's now been brought up, I often combine in my head Doom and Gotham by Gaslight. It's not quite the same period, but there is one creator in common, and they're both, kind of one-off things with cool-looking costumes. So I want to talk about the art before I get into, I think I'm gonna have a rant here in a minute, but I want to talk about the art. So it is art by Troy Nixey. The story is by Pace and Mignola. There's art at the back, preliminary art from Pacey at the back, and it's spectacular. But instead, we got faces like this. This is Tim, right? And like, what the hell? Now, I will say that monsters are drawn very well, and he does a great job with cities. So look at this panel. I mean, that's amazing. I love it. Faces with humans, though, not so good. This has versions of Dick, Jason, and Tim, and they look... Another thing, I hate when artists just black out the eyes. I don't know if it's supposed to be shadow. It doesn't make any sense. I hate it. It's not the first time I've mentioned it, but it is a reminder. Man, what drugs has he been doing? So, the art, not the greatest. Usually I talk about, hey look, there's eyeballs. Look at that. So the art, I'm saying, not the greatest. It sort of works. Some of the time. But the story also doesn't make much sense. This is kind of Hellboy movie 1 setup, conclusion. It's definitely a monster horror story, but it's fun, I think. Seeing familiar characters used in inventive ways, the lizards. This is a part that did not get added to the movie, that didn't make it in the movie. The movie, I was surprised to say, is actually fairly accurate to the comic, and I had just forgotten whole swaths of this. I can't remember the last time I read this, but it's good. I'll say it's good, but also it's very weird, and if you think about it at all, the whole thing falls apart. So Bruce Wayne, common origin story. Right, parents die, he goes on a boat, and he starts traveling. He's traveling for 20 years. He returns to Gotham just as a bunch of horror stuff starts happening in town. And that's problem number 1. So he's on a boat, and he has a bat suit. I have no idea why. Really, a lot of characters receive more of an origin story than Batman, and it breaks my brain to think about. Where is it? That's not it. There it is. Why does he have a bat suit? They don't even talk about really his intentions. It is more developed in the movie, which I think is a strength. Here, it's underdeveloped, what he's doing. Also, there's a moment where... So Oliver Queen is in this. I think there's a misspelling or typo. There's something. I'll get you later. But He returns to town. Oliver Queen says, hey, we should get together. Etrigan's in this. And he brings Tim to a meeting with Oliver Queen and then leaves him there. He's like, it's kind of late. Could we just crash here? And then days go by. There's this whole thing with lizards and snakes coming out of the sewers, and there's a literal time lapse of days that go by before he comes back for Tim. And Oliver's like, who cares? He's like, no big deal. You could just leave your kid here for days. I guess I'll feed him. But the other thing, so there's Dick, right? How old is he? Like 36? 38? Is he pushing 40? How old are any of these people? So, Gordon, right? Gordon is familiar. He's kind of friendly with Bruce Wayne. I don't understand why. They haven't seen each other in 20 years. There's kind of a friendship with Harvey. This is something else that comes up in the movie, more so than the comic. But Oliver says that he and Bruce had met in both of their travels. And again, Oliver gets more of an origin story than Bruce Wayne. It blows my absolute mind. The comic has more of an origin story for Ra's al Ghul, who shows up. Right there, looking badass. So this here is the next morning. This is the morning after. Here it's day 2. Plague of Reptiles, day 2. Day 3, Wayne Manor. And there we've just got the two of them eating alone. Like 3 days. They've just been together. Super, super weird. But if you ignore all of that, there's Batman. Shows up again 3 days later. Batman. It's a fun, interesting, crazy story about Lovecraftian stuff going on in Gotham. And again, familiar villains, familiar heroes. Bruce Wayne, Oliver Queen. Let me try to find. There's a point. I think the Barbara thing happened. Well, I know it happens differently, but when Barbara shows up, like this whole scene, Gordon's like, I'm just gonna ignore the fact that you're dressed like that, and I want to introduce you to my daughter. Here she is. She talks to ghosts. This right here. So this is part of the backstory explanation thing, and Henry Quinn. I feel like that's supposed to be Queen, because there was only one Henry that they were talking about, and it was Queen. I'm like, wait, are they roping in Harley? Was she even created by the time? I don't think she was. When did this first come out? 2000? I guess she would have been created. So this one must have come out 2015 or thereabouts. I got it at some point after that, but it looks like it was originally put out in 2000. I don't know why I thought it was earlier than that. Anyway, Quinn. I don't know why they're talking about Quinn. It's the one instance in the whole book, and I feel like it's a mistake. But I'm saying it's fine, Berg. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I'll read it again. I'll read it at some point when I forget about it again. But it's kind of a nice place to visit. It's not. I think there's not enough here. There's too much and not enough. There's too much. I'm saying the movie is better. Just watch the movie.